Hi, everybody. I'm Professor Paul Amador, and just want to do a quick orientation navigating the syllabus and the Blackboard page to sort of get you started here with the 1409 section that you're in. So hopefully you're all familiar with the Blackboard page. The screen I'm sharing is what mine looks like. I think yours should be fairly similar. So you should have your view of classes, and you can select which class you're in. So for this one, I'm just going to go through one of these 1409s. Um, and this new sort of Blackboard Ultra format, if y'all are familiar with the old one, it's changed a bit. It's all sort of in these drop-down menus, and the relevant content that I've added shouldn't change much. I will say enrollment at ACC, fortunately, has gone up quite a bit. So there's been quite a bit of shuffling classes and professors around. So I didn't really get this class assigned to me till very recently. So there's still some things I'm populating and filling out, but you should have enough to sort of get started. And within the next couple days, weeks, it should be pretty complete for you to sort of start to move along at your own desired cadence here. Um, so the relevant sections here are the syllabus and schedule, which will be updated a bit sort of through the semester as things change. Your first day course materials, which is how you access your textbook. It's digital. Um, Study guides, which we'll get into a bit here as we talk about the actual course. Labs that cover the lab section, and exams. Just getting a little ahead of myself, exams will be done through Blackboard. I'm not really one to use Respondus lockdown browsers or proctors. We'll just do it timed, and you'll have your study guides with you to complete it. So there's still going to be quite a bit of room for you to have some notes that you can lean on. But we'll get to that sort of later in the semester as we approach the first exam. Um, with that said, I've also got the link here to virtual office hours, and I don't really anticipate adding many more links. Um, so for the syllabus and schedule, if you go to this little drop-down widget, you can see the syllabus, and it should open it in the browser itself. So for this section, we've got the sort of boilerplate syllabus form, and I'll just go over some of that information now. Um, I will say I'm posting this video for two different sections I have, so some information might be a little different. So consult the actual syllabus in your Blackboard page for the exact details. The only real difference would be the section number and synonym number, as well as the specific hours of virtual office hours that I'll offer. So we'll cover that a bit more in some detail here. But just for brevity, because I don't want to burden you with some long video here, I trust that you can all read some of this stuff, like the course description and rationale, the important objectives and outcomes for this course. I'm going to get to the relevant bit, which would be how you actually proceed to navigate through the course. So in terms of textbooks, this is what's known as a first day access course. It's my first time doing it, but essentially access to the digital copy of the textbook is paid through your tuition. So in a bit, once we get through the syllabus, I'll show you all how to actually access the textbook, which I believe everyone should have access to now if you're actively enrolled in the course, and have the Blackboard page access, which if you're watching this, you do. The instructional methodology is going to be a straightforward online class. Again, this was sort of thrown in my lap not too long ago, and I've taught this course quite a few times before, not in the last couple of years, but I'm pretty familiar with the material and I have a good grasp on how I like to operate the structure of this course. So this will be an asynchronous sort of at your own pace online course. There will be no formal lecture from me or videos. It'll just be the textbook study guides that I've made to help you sort of fill out and um, identify what's important to get from each different chapter that we'll cover. And then the labs and lab quizzes. The labs will likely just be videos, and then quizzes that test on some of those concepts. Again, it's sort of hard to do um, or exhibit some of the practical aspects of laboratory theory and technique um, in an online format, but we'll have plenty of videos there and sort of um, relevant quizzes to make sure that it all sort of reinforces what you learn in class or what you learn through the book and from the videos here. So it'll very much be at your own pace, but there are some deadlines that we'll cover here for the different assignments. So in terms of the different assignments, we've got 4 exams with an optional final, which will be all multiple choice pulled from the previous exam. So if you missed an exam or you did not as well as you'd like to, that optional final would replace your lowest exam grade. So I'm still only grading 4 exam grades for your final grade, but you can replace the lowest one with this optional final. Next, we have the study guides, which again are just sort of just little question sheets that ask for different vocabulary terms, definitions that help guide you through the chapter as you're reading it. Pretty much the exam will pull directly from those study guides, and you are going to fill them out in your own words. I will provide my completed version right before the exam, just so you can compare and make sure that you're on the right path here. Um, but that's sort of how we get the the input necessary to judge how well you're grasping the information, as you will fill out the study guides in your own words. You can print them out, fill them out, handwritten, or you can fill them out digitally on your, device. And we'll have a submission portal where you can turn those in um, at the due date, and that'll be a completion grade. But it'll behoove you to make sure that you get the right information because you can use that during your actual exam. As I mentioned before, the labs will just be videos that you watch, maybe some exercises that you do, and your mastery of that will be tested by these short, largely multiple choice um, or matching lab quizzes that'll also be done through Blackboard. So again, I mean, you're interfacing mainly with Blackboard, so everything will have its place, and I'll make sure to point that out through emails as I start to upload some of these different assignments here. And then finally, to have a little bit more participation and engagement with your other classmates, there'll be 2 discussion board assignments that'll be um, largely open-ended questions. Like the first one might be like, "Oh, do you believe humans are still evolving?" Provide evidence, in support or against. And we'll have the discussion board tool where you can post, and then to get the full grade, you'll have to comment on 2 other students. So that'll be due probably halfway through the semester to make sure that everyone has ample time to read others' comments, get their comments in there. Um, I'll post as well to sort of have a little bit more material and more of a active discussion there. And those are the 4 types of assignments that you'll expect to get grades for. Obviously, the most highest weighted one is your exams. That's 50% of your total grade. The study guides and discussion board are 10 and 15%, and then the quiz for the lab components will be 25%. Um, New this year for Austin Community College is that we have to include a policy on how you use AI, your Chat GPT, your other websites that offer AI or generative AI. Um, I'll let y'all sort of read through it, but the important bits are that, I expect that you can use this for your assignments. Just be aware that some of the information may not be correct. So hopefully this will give you an opportunity to sort of refine your ability to tease out what's real, what's not, um, what sources is the AI pulling from. But some important qualifiers I do want to get in is that a lot of these websites that are used for AI, like ChatGPT and others, uh, use the information that you input. So if you're worried about privacy and security, just be aware that maybe you don't want to include too many details. You don't want to give big internet too much information about yourself here. And finally, understand that some of the information that is being output by some of these generative AI, um, these different generative AI services can be biased or inaccurate. There's the old saying in computational work that you put garbage in, you get garbage out. And these AIs are just sort of scouring the internet for whatever information, regardless of its accuracy or validity. So you may get a mixed bag of responses there. So I expect you're all familiar or getting familiar with AI. It's sort of becoming a pretty prominent force in school and work. So it's understandable that you'll be using it more and more. I just want y'all to use it responsibly and in a way that sort of augments your experience and what you learn here. But if you have any doubts or questions about using AI, just again, email me directly. Um, very responsive. So any questions at all, and I'll reiterate that towards the end here, just feel free to email me or attend the virtual office hours. So with that said, as far as the assignments go, late work will not be accepted. That's sort of what I have to say. But I understand that, especially if you're taking an online class, you may have other things going on, other externalities. Um, so if you do foresee yourself missing a deadline or you need a little flexibility, please reach out. I will be accommodating to that. Um, and for most things, I'll probably give you some extension there, but understand that any late work turned in after the deadline will only give you 70% credit. So you won't get the full credit as if it was turned in on time. Um, little info on withdrawals there. The important dates are September 10th. That's your last day to withdraw before the official reporting date, so you won't get a W on your transcript. The final date to withdraw with a W is November 20th. And that's important because I think you can only withdraw from, you can only drop 6 courses with a W. I mean, the info is here in the syllabus. Um, before and it'll affect your ability to enroll in new classes here. So there's a limit there imposed by the state of Texas. But further than that, I don't know if there's anything too relevant to this online course. Again, you won't be using a testing center. Tests would just be done through Blackboard. And they'll pretty much just be multiple choice, matching, and some essay questions. Again, because you'll have all these resources available to you that I can't supervise you. Where I really get an idea of your grasp is through these essay questions. So that's really where I can judge how well you're actually understanding the material, um, and that'll gauge, my appraisal of your success a little better here. Um, so here we've got the tentative course schedule. The chapters that are being covered are pretty much set. As I mentioned, I still need to work on the labs. I should have them the next couple of days, at least the first couple. That'll sort of be an active process of um, refining, identifying, and populating good videos and exercises, and then making the quizzes for them. So again, apologies, but there may be a little bit of a lag before you get the lab section sort of fleshed out. Um, I'm still populating some of the study guides, but I have most of those ready, so those should be available to you pretty soon. I think currently I just have the first 3 study guides up for the first 3 chapters we're covering, 13, 14, and 15. Um, so I've got weeks here and chapter to read. Those are my suggestions on to what would be a good rhythm or pace for you to keep to sort of stay on track and not get too far behind. Um, I've got the course schedule organized here by exams, essentially. So as you can see, I've got this items due section, and this means that on the last day of this block, September 21st, um, exam 1 will be due, your study guides 13 through 15 will be due, and any lab quizzes covered in that time will also be due. So really, there's only going to be 4 different major due dates. September 21st, October 19th for the exam 2 stuff, November 16th for the exam 3 stuff, and then the last day of the semester, December 14th, for the final exams, study guide, lab quizzes, and then in a few of these we'll have the discussion boards due. But as I flesh those out a bit more, I'll make an announcement or a video to sort of explain how that's actually going to work in a little bit more detail. So don't worry about that right now. Um, if you do want to get a jump on things, just start cracking the textbook open and filling out these study guides. So with that, I'll move to how to actually navigate the course. So I'm going to exit the syllabus section. The next little drop down here is your first day course materials. So if you click on this, it should take you directly to the publisher's website and give you access to the textbook. So here it's taking its time a bit. And for our uses, I think there are all sorts of bells and whistles here with the textbook, but we're just gonna use it as a simple textbook. So if you go to read now, it'll take you to the digital format of the book. You may be able to download it as a PDF. Um, Otherwise, you can always just access it through the actual website here. All right. Yeah, so it's got a little sort of table of contents panel on one side, and then the actual pages that you can flip through. You navigate at the bottom right corner here. So if you wanted to start chapter 13, you'd click on that, and that's, I guess, in unit 3. I'm gonna start with some Darwin stuff, but this is the page, and you would just flip through it this way. Um, Again, having your study guide next to you so you can identify what you actually need to jot down and retain for the exam. Of course, feel free to read the whole chapter. That will give you a lot more context and understanding. Increase your likelihood of success here. Um, and so that's the textbook itself. Again, we accessed that through the Blackboard page here in this first day course material section. And the study guides are in this next little tab here. The drop down, I've already got the first exam study guides, chapter 13, 14, and 15. This is going to be the portal where you'll turn in those study guides at that due date. So that first one's going to be September 21st by 11:59 p.m. on a Sunday. Um, and I'll talk about more about how to actually upload it as we get closer to that date. It's not too complex or anything, but if you open up the study guides, and again, you can download these, print them out yourself. Um, when you turn them in, they can be, pictures or scans of them, or you can actually just upload the completed Word doc here. Um, but it's just a very basic way to navigate the chapters. So define evolution, theory of evolution. Some stuff in red I've filled out just to make it easier for you. So some of the highlights of Charles Darwin's life identify his two main ideas, which will be fairly obvious in the material. His major observations and inferences, which are also sort of laid out verbatim in the text. I will say I first made these study guides and material exams um, for the textbook like 2 editions ago. But from the glance I've taken, it very much similar. A few things have changed, but I think I've captured those. But if ever something's not clear in the study guide, you can't find it again, feel free to come to office hours or reach out to me by email directly. Most things can be resolved through email without you having to attend at a specific time. But yeah, so that's what the study guide will look like. Um, Lots of definitions and answering questions, again, in your own words. I think that would be the better indicator that you've grasped the material is if you can relate something you described in your own words to questions that I wrote for the exam, then I think that demonstrates that you have um, a better overall understanding as opposed to just memorizing definitions and words here. That's your study guides. Again, when you submit those for a grade, that'll just be completion. Labs, I still need to, again, populate that out. But that'll likely just be videos and quizzes on those videos. Exams, that'll start to, I'll populate that out soon as within the next days or a couple of weeks here. And they'll just be Blackboard exams that you opened up. Again, I don't care if you have other browsers open or if you have your notes with you. They will be timed, but it'll be, it won't be like 20 minutes. It'll likely be like an hour. Um, More time if you need that accommodation, that verified accommodation. And then the only other important section here are virtual office hours. So in this panel, and actually, let me just switch to the student preview so I know exactly what you're looking at. I had the instructor view here. Yeah, but it's not too different. Um, so if you click on virtual office hours here, um, it'll take you to this like Zoom portal done through class, which is what Blackboard Collaborate turned into, if you've ever used that. Yeah, I think I accidentally, when I clicked on the virtual office hours, it canceled the current. I was recording in class, so I won't do that again. So I'll have to stitch this last half of the orientation video with the first half. Um, but in any case, if you do join for virtual office hours, and again, that's done through this virtual office hours link, you're able to enter this room. Um, and I'll likely in practice just have this on probably with my screen off while I'm just working on class stuff. Feel free to chat if I'm not doing anything, and then we can start a video, or just resolve whatever questions are on the chat. It's very similar. It's done by Zoom. If you're familiar with that platform, there's a little chat button, or if you just want to pop on the screen and say, "Hey, I have a question," that's fine too. There's also private breakout rooms, so it doesn't have to be a public forum. We can move to those private chats, if there is, if you want more of a one-on-one attention thing. Otherwise, it'll be like open office hours where maybe you join in and you see people ask good questions, so you just want to be a fly on the wall there. But feel free to, you know, raise your hand or chime in with a question as needed. Um, and I may be taking this for granted since I've been teaching biology for many years now, but this material isn't specifically in the way I've designed my course, isn't specifically designed to be very taxing or challenging. So you may find yourself not having to come to office hours too much, and that's fine too. But I want you to feel empowered to take advantage of office hours, of the open communication through email, to make sure that you have a as good understanding of the material as possible. I'm paid here to help you learn the material, is the way I see it. So anything I can do to facilitate that, that's well within my powers. I will do. Um, but don't feel obligated to come to office hours if you don't need it either. So back to the Blackboard page. I don't know that I have too much more to add to that, um, other than the announcements is where you'll see any sort of relevant posts. I have them set to where they also email you once they're posted, so you'll also have that in your email and the Blackboard. Um, as things change, maybe I extend deadlines, or maybe I do certain assignments differently or something. Um, Let me go back to the student preview here. So yeah, you see the announcements. Discussions is where you'll do your discussion board assignments, but I'll talk about that in more detail as I sort of come up with that. Gradebook is where you'll see your assignments as I put them in Blackboard and your grade. Um, and it should, as soon as I start getting more assignments put in there, it should give you a pretty good idea of where you stand whenever you turn something in. Most of these things Blackboard can grade, some of them I'll have to grade, like exams. Um, but if you ever have questions about your specific grade, it doesn't take me too much to sort of get an idea of where you are and get that information back to you. So if you want to keep a good pulse on your grades and you feel like the grade book here isn't all that accurate, reach out to me directly and I'll try and give you a better impression of what's going on. Um, the only other function here is the calendar, and I guess whenever I put a due date in for an assignment, it'll automatically pop it in there. So like again, I'm only gonna have four major due dates. So the first items that'll be due um, will be in September 1st. And again, by 11:59, so exam one study guides and other assignments will pop up here. Um, And I assume you can probably set it to where you get reminders about these assignments through Blackboard. Um, but I'll sort of explore that a bit myself since I haven't really worked with the new format of Blackboard too much. But I don't suspect it's that different. So you can even just look at the due date view here on calendar, and it'll give you a list of everything you need to prepare for 'em. But similarly, the schedule is also in the syllabus, so I'll be updating that periodically as things change to have it reflect the most accurate um, dates and assignments that you'll need to do. Um, so once I have that finalized, I'll just probably post a standalone image under here that you can see. Um, but otherwise, just feel free to start reading the material again. That's through the first day. You can start reading the textbook, looking at all those neat graphics here, um, and filling out your study guides. So, with that said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me by email. I'm going to post this in an announcement, so there'll be a bit more information there as well. Um, and otherwise, I'll be doing office hours tomorrow, so you can feel free to come in then or email me at your discretion. I don't want to, burden you with any specific route to reaching me. So feel empowered to email, use office hours. Um, and other than that, I think it'll be a pretty straightforward class and hopefully a pretty good semester for both of us here. So with that, I'll let y'all get your semester started and wish you all good luck.